Meeting for item 25. So what we'll do, we have Kate Atwater here, and we'll go around. Everybody can just say your name, that you're here, and then we'll go around. If you can give us like a brief introduction. I know the other day you were beginning to talk about what it is, but if you can give us a full description of what it is, that'll be perfect.
Sure.
So, starting to my far right.
Joe Carney, 1st District.
Joe Driscoll, 5th District.
Michael Green, Counselor at Large.
Steve Thompson, Counselor at Large.
Galib Bey, Councilor at Large.
Tim Rod, Counselor at Large.
We have Common Council President Helen Hudson and myself, Latoya Allen, 4th District Counselor.
And I'm Kate Atwater. I'm the preservation planner for the city. So what this is an application to the State Historic Preservation Office to fund the second phase of a three-year, three-phase comprehensive historic resources survey of the city. It's a reconnaissance level survey, basically a windshield survey, kind of quick and dirty, but the idea is to be able to identify old properties that are eligible for the National Register of Historic Places. The impetus behind this survey is really to help streamline and make more efficient an existing mandatory review process for properties that it's happening right now, where any property that is any project that involves state or federal funding requires an environmental review, and that includes historic resources review from the State Historic Preservation Office. Most of these projects I see, in fact, I processed 4 or 5 of them this morning. They come in to me individually from housing agencies, home headquarters, or MBD, and they send me an image of a house that they're planning on working on, and they're using some type of public subsidy to help the property owner. And I send the image of the house and any other information onto the State Historic Preservation Office for review. They get 30 days to review the project and then to determine whether or not it's eligible for the National Register. If they determine it's not eligible, then the project may proceed. If there is a project that is eligible, then I need to go and get from the housing agency or MBD the scope of work so that the SHPO's office can determine what the impact to the historic resource is going to be.
Ask you a quick question?
Yeah, sure.
Because to me, it seems like if I'm Helen homeowner with a historical property, and if I went to home headquarters and said, wouldn't that put more of a restraint on the property owner because it's historical?
So the State Historic Preservation Office review what it was that you're planning on doing to the property and try to make sure that the damage or impact to the historic character of your property is limited. It's a conversation that you would be having with the State Historic Preservation Office, and it would be because you were going to the housing agency and requesting funding or some type. It could be a loan guarantee or whatever it is that the agency is offering, but it is a requirement. This isn't a local matter. This is a requirement by state and federal law that this take place. So if you wanted to do the work on your own dime or using other, funding that is not of a public nature, you could do what you wish to your property. It's what is the kicker and the key there is using some type of state or federal subsidy, right?
How many properties, just off, if maybe you know, because Syracuse is full of historical properties. So how many historical properties do you think roundabout we have in the city?
You know what, actually, that would be something I would have to come back I mean, at the moment, we have listed on the National Register here in the city, there are about 99 individual listings, and then there are also 17 historic districts within the city. So they're probably, you know, we're talking probably, I don't know, maybe 1,500, 2,000 properties all told, you know, and that would be individual as well as within districts, right? And I would say that the majority of properties that come through that I'm looking at right now, I mean, there are 40,000 parcels or something in the city, right? The vast majority of properties that I process through this, you know, this working with the housing agencies, MBD, the vast majority are not eligible. And I believe that will continue. I think that what we're doing now is sending out the consultants really to look for the gems that we didn't know about. I think we know about most of them, and or if there are sort of small pockets of properties. We're cutting out one entire, by finding out ahead of time what is eligible for the National Register, we are eliminating that first step so that a housing agency will have access to this information, would know ahead of time, or a developer or a property owner could find out, is my property eligible for the National Register?
So it eliminates the 30-day.
It eliminates that first 30-day review period. So I would know immediately, or a housing agency would know immediately, okay, I need to include a scope of work that will be sent on to the State Preservation Office. The other thing that it does, so that, you know, that helps out with the clients, the applicants. And the other thing is that for those people whose properties are eligible for the National Register, they then have the option of pursuing National Register listing, which would make them potentially eligible for those residential tax credits. There are 20% residential tax credits, which is there to help offset the increased cost of doing preservation-related work on properties. However, again, if you are using your own funding that does not have this requirement, then you just carry on. You do what you want to do without State Preservation Office review.
When we talk about federal subsidy, does that include mortgages that are backed by the federal government?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yep.
pretty much any mortgage would.
Well, no, actually, I guess maybe I overstated. I think what I was saying is perhaps not mortgages, but rather if you're looking for funding through the housing agencies that's backed by CDBG or HUD, it's not. Not everybody's mortgage goes through the State Preservation Office.
Right. So I mean, I guess
It's-
a lot of the most mortgages, lending institutions ultimately are backed by the FDIC.
That's right. So that does not,
Okay.
it does not kick in there. I'm sorry. But what I was thinking though is for example, if their home headquarters was offering a more favorable mortgage rate, or not mortgage rate, loan rate, that's that you get a percentage off by going through this, and they're being able to do that by, being able to underwrite that through CDBG or whatever, that would kick it in.
So now, relative to the land bank,
Yes.
how many of these do you encounter there, and what has been your
the
best?
Yeah, the land bank is another one of the agencies that I work with pretty closely. So this is an interesting one. So again, for the majority of the properties that are coming in for demolition, they are found not eligible, and so the land bank can proceed. And I'm talking about demolition here rather than the rehab work that they're doing. However, there was a property that just came across my desk that was on Gertrude Street, which is in the Holly Green Historic District, and it was a burnout, and they were planning on using the AG's money for the demolition. The State Preservation Office asked them for some additional information in regard to the condition of the property, because again, this is in a historic district. They wanted to make sure that what was happening would not negatively impact the district. The land bank has decided to use different funds for this. Actually, I think city funds. And so it actually has removed it from that review from the State Preservation Office, because the local funding does not have those same.
So okay, forget the demolitions for now,
Yeah.
but the, dealing with those properties are gonna be rehabbed.
Yes.
Are the builders or contractors encountering timeframe problems, problems getting funding?
Do you know the only applications that I see coming through the land bank are for demolitions, that they're using that AG funding. When they transfer the building onto the new property owner, the property owner, if they're using their own funding, I don't see them. They don't come across my desk. If they are using state funding or federal funding for their rehab, then it's actually the agency that is providing that
So
funding
you'd see
would
the
have to go
agency, you
through.
wouldn't see it through the land bank.
It's not through the land bank that I would see it. Yeah.
So you would see, it would come through from like home headquarters for you.
Home headquarters or, yeah,
But
for
then
rehabilitation.
But if that house is on the list, then they wouldn't be able to rehab the house because they're getting their money from home headquarters.
They would have to go through a review if they're using home headquarters for the rehab of
Which
a
would
house.
make it more difficult for them to get the house rehabbed if they have to go off of the guidelines for.
It really just depends on what is being proposed, because I think everyone always focuses on, the windows, for example, that the State Preservation Office is not going to approve a vinyl window. However, they would approve a wood-clad window. I mean, but again, it's an issue between the agency that's providing that funding and the State Historic Preservation Office. It's not really a local matter. It's not something that we have direct control over. And with this survey, all I'm trying to do is to be able to have a planning document so that property owners, agencies, and so forth can say, okay, that building is on the National Register. That means that this project may require from a state preservation office review.
So, just for clarity, so what was clear to me is that, the guidelines that would eventually be created based on, as a result of this survey, or whatever, the criteria, whatever that would be.
Yeah.
As you said, the plan is to develop guideline and criteria. I don't believe it's the word you use.
No, a plan. I think I used the word plan to.
So those weren't the words you used.
No.
But you said something to the effect that something would be created as a result of the survey. Criteria wasn't the word you used.
No. Let's see. I'm trying to think of what the word I use. So I'm saying that it's basically a plan. It's not even a plan. It's a list of properties.
You're gonna have a
It's
database
a
of
historic
properties.
list.
I
Yeah.
understand that. You made a
Yeah.
statement earlier that said to the effect of, after the survey, or once it's
Mm-hmm.
determined, what's historical and what's created, that
Yeah.
some kind of, criteria wasn't the word you used, but you implied, some kind of, list of requirements. This is why I asked some questions about
Yeah.
restriction. So this is
There-
requirement that people would, or guidelines that people would have to go by,
Yeah,
in order to-
again, those are guideline, again, this would be the conversation between the property owner or if they're applying for a public subsidy, and there are guidelines that the State Historic Preservation Office uses to assess the impact of a project on the historic character of a property. But we're not creating new guidelines through this. This is actually just basically a database.
I got you. So, again, just for clarity, so whatever the guidelines are will be applied to persons who who have acquired or working on a property that's in some way subsidized or paid,
Yeah.
paid into by state NFA. Right? So I get that part. And so So obviously, to your point, if a person is using their own money, then they're removed from that, and so.
Yeah.
Criteria may or may not apply.
Right, I mean, you get, short of knocking your building down, you can do pretty much what you would like to do if you're using your own money on even a listed property.
But of course, with property that's subsidized by the feds, to the point of the question that Council Allen was asking,
Yeah.
it essentially, whatever is considered historic has to be not just preserved, but if any improvement is made, it has to look exactly the same as it did the first time.
No, not necessarily. I think that, that we can, going into it's called the Secretary of the Interior's guidelines for rehabilitation. What preservationists